Hello, in this video we'll be talking about multiplying and factoring. In the last video we talked about polynomials and monomials. In this video we're going to talk about multiplying monomials with polynomials and then doing some monomial factoring of polynomials. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, we're going to do some examples here. There's no new definitions to worry about, so we're just going to go right into some examples. So the first thing we're going to talk about is multiplying. Here we're going to simplify using multiplication. So when you get instructions in classwork or a test or something, the instructions are just going to say simplify. We all know that a number or a letter next to parentheses means multiply, so that is how we're going to simplify this. We're going to be using the distributive property. So this 2x has to be multiplied to the x, so it's going to be 2x times x, and then the 2x is also going to be multiplied to the 5, so 2x times 5, and there's no negative values or subtraction signs, so this is going to be addition. So 2x times x is 2x squared, and then plus 2x times 5 is just 10x. All right, moving on to the green one. Again, same thing. We're going to multiply this negative w squared times w, and then we have a negative w squared times negative 12. So that's going to end up being positive, right? So we're going to have positive w squared times 12. So I just basically took care of the double negative there. And so negative w squared times w is negative w to the third, because we're adding the exponents there. And now we're going to multiply, oops, I already showed that. Okay, so now the w squared times 12 is just positive 12w squared. So that's it for the multiplying there. We're going to make it a little more challenging. Now when you have the number to the right of the parentheses rather than to the left, like they were in these examples, it doesn't mean anything different. So I just wanted to show it to you that way, because every once in a while it comes out that way. So again, we're just going to multiply this times every single thing in here. And so I usually like to take care of the signs first, because that seems to be one of the more challenging things. So 2x squared times x cubed, and then this is positive and that's positive, so it's going to be positive. Same thing, 2x squared times 4x squared, and then we have a negative times positive, so this is going to be negative or minus 2x squared times 5x. Then we have two positives again, so it's going to be plus 2x squared times 6. So we get we're going to add these exponents, so 2x to the 5th. Here we need to multiply the coefficients to get 8, and then we add the exponents to get x to the 4th. Here we multiply the coefficients, so negative 2 times 5 is going to be negative 10, also known as minus 10, and then the x squared times x, adding the exponents gives us x cubed, and then this last one here, 2 times 6 is 12, and then we have the x squared. And that's it for that. Let's move on to another one. Here we have actually two cases of distributive property simplification here, so we just do them separately. So notice the w here is only multiplying this first set of parentheses. So that's all we're going to worry about at first here. So the w and the w are going to multiply together, and then the w and the 3, and those are both positive, right? Now here we have a negative times a positive, so we're going to say negative, and then we have 4w times w. And then here we have a negative times a negative, so it's going to end up being positive 4w times 6. Okay. So we multiply here, and we get w squared plus 3w minus 4w squared. Sorry, my w's are looking a little weak there, but these are all W's. Then we have 4 times 6 is 24, and then there's a W there. So we're not quite done with this one yet, because as you might notice, we have some like terms to combine, and simplifying means that we're going to combine all possible like terms. So when we simplify, we get rid of parentheses, we do all multiplication that's possible, and then we combine any like terms that are possible. So we have a W squared and a minus 4W squared, so that's going to end up being negative 3W squared. And we have a 3W and a 24W, both positive, so we have plus 27W. And then we're done with that. So probably the most difficult thing for students to get here is the positive and negative numbers working together. So just make sure you're paying close attention to that as you do these examples. You might want to rewind and listen to what I'm thinking as I do those. So now we're going to do some factoring, which is the exact opposite of simplifying. So the first step of factoring is to find the GCF, greatest common factor. You probably remember that from adding fractions or something. So first thing I'm going to do is find the factors of 12x. So that's going to be a 2, a 2, a 3, and an x. And factors of 8 are 2, 2, and 2. So in common, we have 2 2's. Okay. So to factor that, let me see, I'll use a different color here. So 12x minus 8 is going to equal, so when we figure out what they have in common, we can factor that out. So they have a 2 and a 2 in common, and they're being multiplied. So there's a 4 that we can factor out. And then the remaining stuff, so this 3x here, and the 2 goes in parentheses. So 4 times 3x plus 2. Okay, so it's often easier to figure this out when we go backwards. So if we were to distribute this, you would get 4 times 3x equals 12x. Oh, I messed up here. It's good that I checked that. That's a minus 8. So a 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So factoring is basically doing the opposite of simplifying. And the easiest way to check if your factoring is correct is to simplify. So a common mistake, though, is for students to do the factoring, get the correct answer, which is this here, and then think, oh wait, I need to simplify that. And then they go back to and then they write the answer as 12x minus 8. But remember, we're not simplifying, we are doing the opposite, we are factoring. So the black rectangle here, that is the correct answer. 4 times the quantity 3x minus 2. Okay, don't worry, we'll do some more examples here. So we have x squared plus 6x is the new example. So I'm going to find the greatest common factor. So x squared is x times x, and then 6x is equal to 6 times x. So what do they have in common? They have an x in common. Okay, so we can factor out an x. So we have not a 6, an x. So we factor out an x, and then whatever's left is what's in parentheses. So we have an x out here, right, and a 6. And we got to make sure our signs are right. So this is plus, so that's going to be plus. So now to check your answer, x squared, that's how we would get that, and then we have x times 6, that's how we would get that. So this is correct. Let's make it a little more challenging here. Now we have 3 terms, so I'm going to break these down and find the greatest common factor. So here's the 3 terms. So we have a 5 and 3 k's here. Here we have a 2, a 5, and 2 k's. And on this one we have, I'm just going to write a -1 so I don't forget the negative like I did in the first one. So we have a -1, a 3, a 5, and a k. So what do these have in common? Well, they each have a k, right? They each have a 5. And that's it. So we're going to factor out 5k, because that's what they all had in common, and then put the remaining stuff in the parentheses. So for the first term, the 5k cubed, there was 2k's left. So we have, I'll put it in blue so you can see where they're coming from. And then the second term, the 20k squared, we had a 2, and a k, so that's 4k, and it's all positive. And then this last one, we had a 3 and a -1, so that's -3. So there you go. Now to check our answer, we're going to do a little distributive properties. So 5k times k squared would be 5k cubed, that's correct. And then 5 times 4 times k would be there. And then 5 times -3 times k is there, so that's correct. Yeah, let's go one more before we finish. So I'm going to find the greatest common factor of these two things. We have -27m squared n cubed. So this is going to be a 3, 4 m's, and 5 n's. That's a lot. 3, 4, 5. Okay, and this one we have a -1, so we don't forget the negativity. 3 3's, 2 m's, and 3 n's. Alright, so what do they have in common? We got 2 3's in common. We've got 2 m's in common. And we've got 3 n's in common. Okay, so the factored version of this, we need to pull out all the commonalities. So 3, 3, m, n, n. So 9 m squared n cubed times, and I'll use a different color again for this. What's left over is we have 2 m's and 2 n's, so m squared n squared. And then down here we have a -1 and a 3, so -3. Make that both green. Okay, now to double check, 9 m2 and 3 times m2 and 2 would be 9 m4 and 5. That's correct. And then -3 times 9 is -27, and then 2 m's and 3 n's. So we're good. So here is the answer. And that should do it for the video. Thanks for watching.